Hey everybody, Kyle Goth here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews on YouTube. And I have my first reaction to the new film Transformers 1. This is the 8th installment in the Transformers franchise. Oh, I guess the 9th overall film. And I'm not really sure after seeing this film if it's connected to the live action films at all. In fact, I would argue that this film retells a few plot points differently from the previous films. Probably more in canon, I guess you would say. But yeah, I don't think this is related, and I haven't really been able to get clarification about is this film related to the other one. So if that matters to you, I don't know, it'd be nice to know, I guess. This is the 9th Transformers film, the second animated one, and we are set on Cybertron, and we're following Orion Pax and D16, who eventually become Optimus Prime and Megatron, as they are basically trying to find the matrix of leadership, which is something we have seen in the live-action films, in order to save their species from running out of energon, essentially. And its origin story is about their friendship and what leads them to eventually leads them to ruin, I guess. We also have returning people. We have Bumblebee in the film, voiced by Keegan-Michael Key. We also have Sentinel Prime, who appeared in the live-action Transformers films, voiced by John Hamm. And a few other returning players as well. But again, I just don't know if this movie is connected whatsoever. And for some reason, it really bothered me throughout the movie that, like, I don't know what the purpose of the film is, unless it's kind of to, like, jumpstart an animated series of films in the same way that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse did, or what else this is really supposed to be. Regardless of all that, though, I found this to be an incredibly mixed bag definition of a movie. Overall, I did not like the film enough to recommend it, but there's some great things in the movie. I just don't think enough works where I can say you should check it out. And it seems like I'm in the minority on this one, because there's a lot of people that have really enjoyed it, and a lot of Transformers fans from the 80s who seem to really like the film. I watched a good chunk of the Transformers animated series when I was young. Haven't revisited it much. Really, most of my recency on that is watching the live action films. I don't think Chris Hemsworth does a great job as Orion Pax. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's good either. It's very much Chris Hemsworth voicing a character, and this goes back to, again, I just don't like when you have stars that aren't voice actors doing voice roles, and I don't think this is particularly up his wheelhouse anyway. When you get like a Chris Pratt voicing an everyman in the Lego movie, okay, that works. But when you give me Chris Pratt voicing Mario, it's not really for me. I will say Brian Tyree Henry, who voices D16, does a pretty good job with what he's given to do. I think he elevates that material and that performance. For me, there was writing issues where I didn't really buy his character arc happening in such quick of a time. Again, we join up with these guys when they're really good friends, and I think this wedge that's driven between them feels like it happens very quickly. And I don't know. I don't know that I had enough of their relationship going into that wedge where I really bought the change, or that the change would be surprising. Again, like, I did not buy that character motivation right there, and I think part of it is just that the writing happens so very, very quickly. The movie is trying to do a lot. It is trying to set up a lot of random things, and again, setting up is one thing, but again, going back to that, I don't really know what this movie is for. I don't know what the purpose of a number of these setups are, because the film leaves itself in a place where I didn't really feel like the story buttoned up nicely. It is a complete story, but I don't feel it ended in a way where I was like, okay, I'm content. I didn't feel that. I kind of felt like we should cover that. Like, we should go and do that part too. And maybe that's their plan, is to do a follow-up on that, but I just don't think there was enough meat in this movie that was, worthwhile enough. And part of, Josh Cooley directed it, who directed actually my favorite Toy Story film, Toy Story 4. I know, again, also in the minority on that one. I really liked his work on Toy Story 4. I felt like the comedy in this film while being better than Michael Bay comedy in the live-action films, still there was a number of jokes that just did not land for me very well. They felt very, very telegraphed. You kind of knew what the joke was going to be before they did the joke. And again, going back to what I think is kind of a tragic story in some ways, I think there's some tonal issues where, like, I don't know if we're supposed to be enjoying... I mean, we're clearly supposed to be enjoying ourselves and the characters are making jokes and lighthearted humor, but there's also this inherent building towards tragedy that I think as viewers we're meant to know, we're meant to understand. And again, like, that tonal shift of being able to go serious when we needed to go serious didn't really work for me. That being said, there was a number of sequences in the film that I was really interested in. I liked the world itself and how the world was animated. I didn't love how the characters were animated. They felt kind of blocky. And I know that Transformers are robots in disguise, so maybe the blockiness is intentional, but it almost felt like unrendered blockiness. And there were times when I think that worked really well and when the characters were lit in an interesting way. There's some cave scenes where the characters are lit nicely. I thought their blockiness kind of looked nice in those scenes. But then there were scenes where the characters were lit, were missing, and just generally out in the sunshine, kind of scenes where I just didn't feel like the characters looked all that interesting. They were kind of bland. And it goes back to, there's a lot of sequences in the film where there's a number of Transformer characters, Cybertronians, that are maneuvering about in open space, and it felt very much CG blobbish, where it was hard time making out, I think, some of the things that were visually in the film. And that's not all the movie, but again, that's where the mixed bag aspect comes into play here, is I don't think there's enough that really elevates this material. And coming off of Rise of the Beast, which I think was a pretty good Transformers film, coming off of Bumblebee, which I think is the best Transformers film, this one kind of disappointed me a little bit in that I just wasn't really sure, like, what's the point? I guess I wasn't really sure what the filmmakers' intentions were, because the tonal shifts, the writing, and again, just in general, some of the casting, it was hard for me to listen to Scarlett Johansson voice a character and not think Scarlett Johansson's voicing a character. At least in the Toy Story films, when we have Woody and Buzz, I get lost in those character performances. And maybe it's because we're 4 films in and I didn't really follow voice acting when I was 5 or 6 and the first one came out. But it goes back to that, or even, Chris Evans voicing Lightyear in Lightyear. I wasn't thinking about Chris Evans voicing that character, but there was some people in this film that I felt I couldn't differentiate Chris Hemsworth from voicing Orion Pax. And I've seen better voice performances for that character, particularly from the guy that created that character. There's not enough for me to wholeheartedly recommend Transformers 1, which is upsetting because I was hearing all this great buzz. I was so, as much as the trailers didn't do much for me, I kept thinking, I got a feeling that the trailer is showing us the things that are going to get kids to want to see this movie, and maybe the rest of the film is going to elevate things that I would be interested in seeing. And I just don't think that's the case. So unfortunately, I have to give a pass to Transformers 1. It did not work for me. I don't think the movie is flat out terrible. It's not bad, and I think there are people that will enjoy this movie. In fact, I know there are people that will enjoy this movie. I just wasn't one of them that could recommend it. So let me know what your thoughts on Transformers 1 down in the comments section below, and maybe where was your entry point into the Transformers universe? Were you a fan of the original 80s show? Did you just collect the figures? Did you see the movies first? Where were you at with Transformers? And then give me your thoughts on Transformers 1, because I'm curious to see that bridge of people. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to speak with you about it. While you're down there, please like and subscribe. There are 2 free things you can do that help support the channel immensely, and you never miss new episodes of the show as they drop. You can also find goatfilmreviews.com for my many written reviews. You can find Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can follow me at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. And you can find my show, Kyle and Nick on Film, that I co-host with Nick Polatichuk in the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes of that show every single week. And you can also check out the link down in the description for all that stuff, as well as a link to the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance, of which I am a member. You can find other critics' reviews of Transformers. You can just check out more of my stuff too. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.